Sweet. I think I am live here. Yay! Much better inside without the wind. God and Goddess, thank you so much for all of the beautiful surroundings, even the wind. Thank you for the windy days and the sunny days and rain and the snow. Please help us to be appreciative and thankful in all of the seasons of our life and to lead with love and kindness and to become more like you so that we can make this world a better place. In the name of Elohim, I pray. Amen. Today is Family Day, and just for those who weren't here a little bit earlier, our God and Goddess, immanent and transcendent, send all your angel of peace. To my family and friends, send your angel of love. Yay, it worked this time. It's really cool, actually, that I called my mom this morning, not even really thinking that it was Family Day, and got to talk to her. So I would really encourage you to reach out to your family and find different ways that you can be more peaceful in your family, be more loving and kind and all of that. That being said, I wanted to read to you from the Holy Godspell, the Holy Megillah, the Nasarean Bible, the Essene Way, translated by Day of Greenleaf and available at Essene.org. In chapter 8 of the Holy Godspell, we read some really cute stories about Miriam as a child and how much light she had inside of her and wisdom and her going up and saving different. There's a story about her saving lizards from a boy that was trying to kill him. There's another boy that was trying to smash ants, and Miriam got pulled into a nice little story with that and all this. But anyways, the last story in this chapter is titled "Escape from Ethiopia," and that's what I wanted to share with you today. This starts in chapter 8, verse 775. Behold, the peaceful childhood of Miriam was visited by the violence of the ignorant. For lo, the Aaronites heard stories in the villages of a holy goddess child who performed miracles. Yea, they heard of many sick and injured being healed at the mere sound of the voice of the holy child. And these stories were true, for when the child sang, great healings occurred. Witnesses had seen a wilted flower come to new life at the sound of her voice. But the Aaronites were jealous of the love the Ethiopian people had for the Nazarean child. Wherefore the Aaronites, being influenced by demons that are attracted to animal sacrifice rituals and flesh eating, claimed she was a witch or a demon. And they came at night and set fire to the Nasarean village of Eden, killing many. Behold, an Aaronite man threw a spear at the holy child. But holy Zemira, her father, threw himself between his daughter and the spear. Lo, Zemira was killed, but his sacrifice saved Miriam. For Zibiah snatched up her child and ran into the night. Behold, just before the attack, the Holy Family had been awakened by the warning of two yellow-feathered birds with green chests. If not for this warning, Zemira would not have had time to save Miriam. Yea, and without this warning, Zibiah would not have been in time to snatch Miriam from the attackers. Even so, the birds wept near the body of holy Zemira. Not only holy Zemira was martyred on this night, but also holy Maor. Behold, when Zibiah lifted up her daughter Miriam and fled into the brook, an Aaronite man pursued her. Because Zibiah was carrying the holy child, Miriam, the man gained on her. Lo, when the man threw his spear at close range towards the back of the fleeing Zibiah, Maor threw his own body in front of the spear. He passed from the world with a prayer on his lips. Also martyred on this night was Bar Hesed, the Gideoni, the wise one, the wizard. The aged Gideoni ran like a young lion as he chased the 9 men who still pursued Miriam after the martyrdom of Maor. Catching the 9 men, he battled them using the Nasarean martial art called Zayen. Though mortally wounded by several arrows, Bar Hesed disabled each of the men. Holy Bar Hesed died knowing that Zibiah and Miriam had escaped. Lo, he also knew that he had previously instructed Zibiah on how to flee to Alexandria if it were ever necessary. Yea, he had prepared safe houses all along the route, knowing that it might come to this. For many days, Zibiah went with Miriam from village to village, receiving aid from the good people of Ethiopia. Yea, the people fed, and hid them, for they loved the holy child, and many remembered the words of the prophet, which said, Behold, our queen shall be birthed from an Ethiopian womb. But the holy mother of our goddess will flee to Galilee, for the Aaronites shall slay her holy husband in Ethiopia, and will hunt her like an animal. And from that day unto the end of time, any Ethiopian who gives aid to the Nasarean remnant gives aid to our goddess and her holy mission. This aid is in deed and truth, and will not go unrewarded. And so the people, at risk of their own lives, helped Zibiah and Miriam to flee to Galilee by way of Egypt. In Alexandria, Egypt, Zibiah counseled with David the Yair and rested. Then she took Miriam by sea to the shores of Mount Carmel, then by foot to Magdala, on the western shore of the Sea of Galilee. In Magdala, Zibiah and Miriam lived with Nazarene friends. Thus it came to pass that she who came into this world to be our watchtower, which in Hebrew is called Magdala, lived in the town of that name. For behold, the Magdalene is the watchtower of the flock, and we are the sheep of her pasture. Behold, little Miriam, new in the town of Magdala, used her voice to heal injured animals, as she had in Ethiopia, but not in front of witnesses. Yea, and she often sang to heal humans, but only from a distance, so that it could not be known that she was the source of the healing. For she remembered the jealousy and violence of the Aaronites in Ethiopia, and did not wish to attract their attention in Magdala. Miriam lived in Magdala until she was 16. For lo, when Miriam was 16, her holy mother, Zibiah, was killed by the Aaronites. Zibiah was a master healer with herbs and by touch, but the Aaronites declared her to be a witch. Yea, the Aaronite priest who ordered her death called her the Black Witch on account of her black skin, and said she practiced Ethiopian magic. With the death of Zibiah, Miriam escaped to the Nasarean encampment in India and lived there until she was age 22. Most called her Miriam of Magdala, but by them who knew of her birth in Ethiopia, she was called Queen of Eden, in remembrance of the Nazarene village in Ethiopia in which she was born. Yea, and a few of the most advanced initiates perceived that Miriam was Queen of Heaven. But they kept this to themselves for fear of bringing worldly persecution upon her. After her time in India, Miriam traveled first to Ethiopia, then to other lands, healing and teaching. But she was never welcome to stay long. For behold, she was a woman speaking in public, which was considered to be a shameful thing, especially in that she spoke on spiritual things as though she had authority. For though she was a Nazarene priestess, few besides the Nazarenes recognized the right of a woman to the priesthood. And her appearance startled many, for she was a black female with uncut hair to her ankles, possessing only 2 hemp robes, 1 bag of medicinal herbs and oils, 1 blanket, a staff, and the Holy Megillah. Yea, and she dared to travel with no man for protection, though she was of unsurpassed beauty. For behold, she was the Lion of Zion. Lo, in her traveling, she suffered much verbal abuse and many threats. Lots of interesting stuff in there, in my opinion. It's so sad. I was reading this morning, and when I'm reading about these people literally throwing themselves in front of spears to save this holy child and the situation that they were in, and how terrifying that would be as a parent, and all of these different factors. Like, I was getting emotional this morning thinking about all of this stuff. So it's really crazy how far we've come from that, but also how close we are to that. Even the modern day Aaronites, the Paulians, the mainstream Christians are one breath away from burn the witch, and other, even with this book, they would be probably the forefront of the people that try to stop it spreading. And it's really sad, right? Because they're the ones that claim that they are following God and Christ, and yet they don't hear the Good Shepherd's voice when it is presented right in front of them. They don't have that discernment. I fully believe that Holy Spirit reveals the truth of the Megillah to anyone that is diligently seeking and not under the influence of the Satan, not under this stronghold of religion that keeps them from questioning and from hearing the voice of the Lamb within. And so much of that blockage also comes from eating the flesh of innocence. That's why they want us to eat animals. And I love how that one of those verses points out that these demons that are kind of involved with the Aaronite religion are attracted to that animal sacrifice, the human sacrifice, the blood, the war, the violence, and they fuel all of these things. They can make people, we read in there that they were trying to literally hunt Miriam down and labeling her a demon or a witch. And the actual demons will make the religious folk feel justified in what they are doing and feel like God is on their side, and they will press forward with horrible things. And yeah, they're listening to these demons. So it's really important to do what we can to separate ourselves from those dark entities, although it's really hard in this world because they are literally in every nook and corner trying to get us to open the door to them, whether it's media or food or any other different way. There's so many just different ways that they can interact with us and try to come in and influence us. So it's important that we put up protections against that and do what we can to fight against that. Cool. I'm going to see what's going on in the live chat. Krishan says that thank you for all your dedication to the Almighty. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. David D says, I'm excited to hear this story. Yeah, you can actually read this also in the free PDF that is available online. Hello, Kyle. Kyle says, this seems more calm. Definitely. It's definitely getting to be that fall, winter weather outside. And oh man, I'm bummed that I really wanted to be able to sit out there and enjoy it with you guys today, but that was not what was happening. Hey, Kyle Smith, how's it going? Kyle says, hey, Anana, thank you for sharing this with us. How's your song going? Any progress? I'm feeling called to play piano more lately. Oh, that's really cool. It'd be really fun to get like a little truther band going. I have had other things come up recently, and the song got put on the back burner, unfortunately. But yeah, I feel kind of sometimes that I'm like, there's just so much that I have going on, and it's hard for me to get some things checked off. And so it's kind of more of a time management type thing, I guess, on my part. But I can understand how, for instance, it's taken so long to get the Megillah out, because it's just one thing after another, and you're like trying to focus on something and do something, and then something comes up, and then another thing comes up, and it's just one thing after another. And yeah. Hey Dave, how's it going? Dave says, what a crazy and difficult upbringing from an early age, losing her home and parents. She's amazing. Yeah, and I know that you know some of those early stories as well about her saving animals and singing and healing people, and just the beauty. Man, it would be an honor to have a child like that. So I love that. David D says, we are completely surrounded by demonic influences, especially from any screen. Well, that is definitely true. These little black boxes that they literally use black mirrors or black mirrors for scrying and for summoning entities. And there's a reason that they're called programs and channels and all of that. It's truth in plain sight, right? They're trying to use it against us. It's never for entertainment. It's never for our upliftment. Even the Christian shows are, well, I mean, they're false Christianity, right? So no matter how positive they are still tied and tethered into the animal sacrifice cult, which is demonic at its core. And this animal sacrifice cult has tried to link into all of the different religions and take the Nasarean teachings and twist them together. And so it's like, on one hand, go and kill and eat animals, and on the other hand, love your neighbor. And as we see in the scriptures, you can't, you know, it says as long as humans eat flesh, they will be unable to fulfill those commands of loving your neighbor. And we can totally see how that is true, and how eating violence and hatred and unloving meals, what you put inside is going to fester in there and then also come out. So you can't really expect to be at peace inside or outside when we are doing violent actions and all of that stuff. Um, but yeah, that being said, I'm going to get off of here and go try to focus on some things that I want to get done before the next weekend. Like I said, I have a lot of, I guess, irons in the fire, so to speak. And yeah, I need to kind of get organized so that I can get some things checked off. I'm super excited about the tools that I have that are regarding the Megillah that are going to be, kind of coming out soon. And I will keep you in the loop about that. David, he says, hard to focus when you're trying to do multiple things at the same time. That is definitely true. Black Mirror is a TV show used to reveal a lot of truth in plain sight, especially regarding the emerging of man and machine as prophesied in Megillah. Yeah, I think I mentioned that in a few a few videos recently, and kind of wanted to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that goes on in the show without actually promoting it, because it's a really degenerate show, and I don't I don't want other people to put that garbage in their minds. I fast forward through a lot of it. Um, but yeah, you're right. It does show a lot of these different technologies and ways that they are going to try to merge us with AI and try to make like smart cities and situations where I'm thinking of this guy that basically was pedaling on a bike and had to pay for commercials and pay to like skip perverted commercials and all these different things. So yeah, hopefully we can avoid that technological dystopia and move to the blessed future that is described in the book of Enoch, where all beings are getting along and everyone is just living in a way that is uplifting to our souls and the world around us. Kyle says, don't wear yourself out. Take some time to relax or meditate. That is a good advice. We should all do that, but I will take that personally, because I definitely need to. It can be very chaotic just going, especially being so excited about doing all of these different things. So I appreciate that advice, and I will take it to heart. Maybe go do some of that before I get my work started for the day. I hope that you all have a wonderful day. May God and the goddess empower you.